Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world, I am Lorcan. I'm joined by the one and only Ravi Vasudev, and we have had a high-octane day all day today, so you must forgive us for the expediency with which we address the opening of this truly titanic climax in a semi-final at the end of Saturday as two teams battle it out. It is Ranelagh, their second trip to the semi-final, and a new generation of Heidees who make their first real effort at the upper echelons of Ultimate for several years. And there's the initial throw, and it's an initial mistake by Ranelagh. Shock, surprise, Corcoran sends it over Rogers, so Heidees get an opportunity to hit back immediately. Kitchen picks it up and throws it away himself. Maybe nerves on both sides. I am Lorcan Murray. I'm joined by Ravi Vasudev, and there's an opening score. It gets in eventually. Sam Micklem finds, I believe that was ULTI.TV for the score. 1-0, I guess.
All right, Lorcan, that was an interesting first point here at the semifinal. Maybe a little bit less quality than the last semifinal we just saw. We'll see if that's the story of the rest of the game. I think this is a bit of a surprise for most people, seeing Ranelagh's results this year. I mean, I know they made the semis last year, but this year at Worlds, I don't think they did that great. They didn't manage to make it into the final of UK Nationals either. So maybe a lot of people not thinking that Ranelagh would be quite at the level they were last EUCF. Heidees, a team, you know, they have a history of success. In 2014 in Lecco, they were in the top 8, one of the 2 European teams to make it into the top 8 back when the era of Hans Tiro and some of the older lads over from Heidees. But now you see a lot of the younger guys coming up. They went and beat their hometown rivals, Wall City, in the quarterfinal. 14-11, which is, you know, they lost to them on a Nationals earlier this year, so that must have felt very good for the young guys from Heidelberg.
They are a very young team, but they have been playing with some grown men attitude so far, avenging that final loss, really leaning on each other. I mean, you start to look at the talent that they have on the pitch and on the sideline. It is incredible. That's their captain out there right now, Nice. That's Sontag, number 29. He's going to be fed the disc. He is 21 years old, as far as he knows. He's a little confused about the subject. Lind, number 16, the other captain on the near sideline, is only 20. As now they look to go through the middle. That is Meyer Bottling. They are not alone, though. They are flanked by a couple of high-level pickups, like Meyer Bottling, and then he gets down to Giso down the line and picked up further on. So they've got strengths augmenting what they can do, as that one perhaps just a bit too soon, and Liam Fletcher is able to get under and pick it up. So nice throw, he throws that over. Quickly over to McNulty. McNulty, a young player for this Ranelagh side, came up through the Irish junior program back 2019. Huge bid, but Meyer Bottling just watches it go past his tag. Bogan Carey throws one straight down into the end zone. Alberto Girotto picks it up. Girotto to Sontag. Sontag gets it to Lind, and Lind bounces out of his hands. Maybe somebody needs to just, as we'd say back in Ireland, chill the bean a wee bit.
This is not probably what either team was thinking coming into the semifinal. Both teams pretty much undefeated. Ranelagh did take one loss to MUC, but that was when they had already wrapped up the pool. And then another D and another turn.
Goes for the ambitious over-the-top throw. It was a nice backhand break. I think he might be looking for a foul call on Salazar.
I just want to say again, Heidees undefeated so far in this tournament, beating some great teams, including Wall City in their quarterfinal on the way to get here. Ranelagh taking the one loss to MUC when they had already wrapped up the pool. Ferdy Rogers wasn't playing in that game. They were trying, but, you know, trying to throw not their stars out there, not get tired. So it was a game that didn't matter. But right now, both teams a little out of sorts, Lorcan.
It seems like somehow the adrenaline hangover from the other semi-final, which we just watched, which is one of the best games of Ultimate probably ever played on European soil. These guys are nervous. There's a lot of youth on the Heidees side and not a whole lot of experience at the upper level for Ranelagh. Like you mentioned, they didn't have a great WUT campaign, but that's something they've really focused on correcting, and they are a great team for their adjustments. Sontag with the disc, front of the end zone, shoots it across. Was looking for Grotto, gets it to Meyer Bottling. Meyer Bottling, he's got options. Shear finds him in the middle, and then Linda is right there. This is much more like the Heidees side that scored upwind after upwind against Wall City. Sontag hangs it out there. McNulty comes in for the D and gets it. That was a big question, and McNulty had the answer. The answer was no.
Not great for Heidees there. They actually had really good flow up until that last pass. Just put a little too much pepper on that one, and in this win, it was just too risky for this level of play. And they give it to Ranelagh for another chance at a break. Very sloppy stuff to start off here, Lorcan.
Understandable, maybe because of the nerves. Dean McCreary, who has been an absolute star, if you ask me for my opinion, which I know one ever does, but I give it anyway, as you see it with Fletcher on the far sideline. That's number 50, McCreary, who's one of the main handling forces for this Ranelagh side on their D-line. Gets down to Louis Stewart. Now that's a young man who's really grown into his own over this year's campaign. Bogan Carey looks to find Stewart again. That's a beautiful leading pass, but it's just a bit too far.
Both teams putting a little bit too much on it right when they get to that throw for the end zone, playing good offense all the way there. You see there, throw just too far on that inside out backhand. And yeah, I mean, it's tough to say what we're seeing here, Lorcan. There's a lot of wind, it has to be said. Both teams probably getting used to it. Both teams, I mean, Ranelagh has been here before. They played semis before. This is the first time for this set of Heidees for sure, except for maybe at the youth stage. A lot of these players were on youth national teams, U20, U17s, which of course Germany has had a storied, successful program there.
You can see just how windy it is as Shears tried to throw that one around, and the wind turned it basically into a blade. Nice throw, he was able to pick it up. Now it's with Sontag on the far side. He gets it to Girotto. Girotto, a Padova import, one of 3 of them playing on this side through the Lind connection. Girotto gets it down the line, and there's Jasper Lind, and he winds up and uncorks one, but it's always very low, and McCreary is wise to it. So Dean McCreary, he's got cannons, especially on that flick side. Interestingly enough, it does appear that they're being forced backhand right now, which is something of a rarity.
Especially in the wind.
Especially in the wind. Fletcher looking for options, goes with the lefty to McNulty in the end. McNulty with the flick. Down the line, Stewart. He goes for the high release backhand over the top. Lind's trying to get there, but Kyo collects. And I think that's frustration. You can see Ranelagh come out. No rocket this time, but after that many misfires, probably best to leave it in the old garage for now.
That's a break for Ranelagh. Tragic stuff there for Jasper Linde, who had position, but I think by the time he turned around, just lost where the disc was going, then gave that disc to Ranelagh. So yeah, again, sloppy stuff from both teams, but Ranelagh punch in 2 points so far, looking like the stronger outfit, looking like a bit more experienced. And yeah, 2-0, start things off.
That's great positioning by Kyo. He's become a real leader for this Ranelagh side. Ranelagh side that is stacked. They're really focused on kind of their specific roles, Ravi. And in that way, their offense, when it plays together, they know what they're going to do. They know what kind of throws they can be expected to take on, and so do their receivers. They really focus on being a well-oiled, well-drilled machine. Big credit that goes to Leo Micklem, Sarah Melvin, and Ian French, their coaching trio. A triumvirate of ultimate intelligence, if you will.
Yeah, interesting to see Sarah Melvin coaching out there. Of course, an elite player in her own right, but deciding to bring her talents to coaching. Not something you expect for someone playing in their prime, usually.
And are Ranelagh, I don't know if this is true, but are Ranelagh the only elite open team in Europe that have a female coach? Or are there any other ones that you've heard of? I know Chevron used to, but that was a few years ago.
I mean, most teams don't have a coach altogether, to be fair.
Very true, and Ranelagh are here with 3, showing you just how much thought they put into this process, how much thought they put into the process since last year, and their semi-final disappointment, and then subsequent bronze medal game. Although, in fairness, I don't think many people are going to be able to be gentle under those conditions when they're defending home turf. As here comes Heidees. So much potential. Fearless play is how they like to define themselves. Nice throw. He has Sontag. He opts to go for Lind instead on the opposite side. Sontag, there's a quick movement, and there's the leading pass. And and a clap catch mistake. Sheer, that is something of a surprise. Maybe going too high above his head to bring those hands together.
Yeah, I think that's just a drop there, Lorcan. Just not being ready for this moment is what I've seen from Heidees so far.
Aidan Kelly gets it across to Doyle in the middle. And down the line. This is nice by Ranelagh. They're just slowly taking themselves into it. As soon as I say that, there's a quick turnover and a turnover back.
Heidees need to clean themselves up here, Lorcan. This is a gift for Ranelagh, just a tiny bit of field position, and they're going to punch in a second break in a row as Aidan Kelly goes to pick things up.
I think both teams could do with picking things up right now, Ravi, but it's Ranelagh's chance to get a second break and go 3 points up in a semi-final. It doesn't really matter how you get there. That's a good place to be. Pierce back to Kelly, and another drop. Maybe both teams could use a timeout and just come together and be like, all right, this isn't either of us. Restart the game. Lind picks it up. Surveying. He goes for another one. It rips, but that's going to float an awful lot. I think that's Meyer Buckling going up against Pierce down in the end zone. Pierce gets position and gets the D.
Fantastic positioning there by Pierce. Just getting in front, keeping his body, going up at the right time. That's a difficult play to make, but he makes it well.
So making up for perhaps that slightly errant throw to Kelly. It really is howling like I am holding on to the tent above us to make sure it doesn't blow away. And it's a side wind for the most part, like a crosswind almost, so coming from behind us. behind the cameras, across the pitch, going ever so slightly from left to right. So it's an unenviable position Kelly currently finds himself in. Looking for Tuhig, can't get it. Tuhig's going to stay out on the near sideline. Kelly goes to the opposite sideline, and Stewart couldn't bring the disc into his grasp. Lind goes for the quick pop to Sontag. The two captains connect for a much-needed Heidees score.
Oh, Heidees did get that score, but I don't know how happy they can be about it. That was, what, 3-4 turnovers they had on that point. On the previous point also, they really need to clean things up here. The score is 2-1, Ranelagh over Heidees.
So we're going to have another look. This is the swinging around, but the wind just forces it down, and Stewart couldn't quite get his cuticles under that disc. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's watching us from home on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, hit that alarm bell, all that good stuff. Follow us on Patreon, tell your friends. Most importantly right now, join us in the comments. Let us know how you're getting on. Are you enjoying the games? How's the European Championship Finals gone for you watching from home? Where are you watching from? We want to hear about it all.
So as I said before, the winner of this game will get to play Clapham in the final tomorrow. Clapham taking down Cusb down 8-6 at half. Cusb even got the 9-6 out of half, but then Clapham just did their second half thing and Clapham'd them.
Yeah, that clapback is a dangerous thing, and there's a reason they are synonymous with it. It really looked like Cusb were going to take it there. But right now we're watching the other semi-final, and of course we have the women's semi-finals. Pretty sure Yaka beat Seagulls in the first one.
Comfortably.
And then the other semi-final that's happening right now on the other feed, depending if you want to check out that one.
Cusb Shout versus
Cusb
Bristol.
Shout versus Bristol. So 4 different countries represented in all 4 semi-finals. Of course, we have the mixed semi-finals for you after this as well. For right now, it's Corcoran getting it to Rogers. So their first appearance since that first point. That first point that opened up with a turnover, followed by a turnover. So 2 turnovers before a completion in this game. Corcoran and Heidees, they've got a few different shapes to this zone that they like to throw out. They want to keep the offense guessing. They don't want to let them get comfortable.
Is there a touch on that?
I think that was just Rogers putting up a loose push past McNamara. Feely, Corcoran to DB on the far sideline. And here's Murphy. Murphy was so huge in their quarterfinal win over Mooncatchers. They actually didn't throw it to him. They went back to Corcoran and then Feely across to McNamara and to Deavy again. Look how quickly they move, how quickly they swing across the pitch. McNamara, now Murphy has the disc. He looks back into Rogers, decides he doesn't want it, back to McNamara. Ranelagh are going quickly using all their players, and it's Rogers who collects it for the score.
What an amazing set of offense there from Ranelagh, just moving it. I don't think they got past stall 1 for the last 8, 9, 10 passes, just always taking that easy option, just keep moving it with flow. And yeah, it looked like Heidees had no answer for what Ranelagh was doing there. 3-1 is the score. Heidees still down 1 break.
That might have been a mistake by Heidees to put the zone on Ranelagh, because that's the most confident Ranelagh have looked. I think they had a couple of throws, a couple of seconds to just gather themselves, and then they're like, all right, this is how we actually play offense. And that's the beautiful throw from McNamara right through the middle to Ferdia Rogers.
Ferdia Rogers, last year's ULTI World Offensive Player of the Year in the Open Club Division. Such a strong force.
Such a huge part of their offense, but something they've really worked on over the last year. And I think it is a bit apparent when you see he got 2 touches. He started it, he ended the play. Everything else was by so many other players. Like Corcoran stepped up in a big way. McNulty, of course, more on the defensive side. Feely as well have like really tried to up their roles. And then you've got like McNamara, Murphy, who can just step in their DV to get the second part of that play. So it's not as reliant on Rogers. In the big moments, obviously you return back to form in the base level. But they really worked on expanding out the responsibilities of their core handlers. As Sontag, you want to talk about core handlers, this man is so crucial to everything that Heidees want to do. Lind gets it down. Shear in the middle of the pitch. That was a 20-year-old to a 19-year-old, no, 21-year-old to a 19-year-old to a 20-year-old, by the way. Lind. Sontag. Thinking about it. And this time he goes to the break. This is better by Heidees. They have got fantastic flow, and they don't seem to mind too much about the wind when they're playing. Grossi, who's a real leader for this team, coming from Badova. Sontag floats that one out rather wonderfully. And Salazar brings it down. They're going to call him out of bounds at the back of the end zone. So the final throw kind of undoing them.
Let's take a look at this throw again. It looked like it could have been okay to me, but you're going to see put up in the air. When it came off his hands, thought that was going to be a goal, but you can see, well, it's hard for us to see the back line there. Well, no perspective there for us, but
Liam Fletcher was quite graciously like, don't worry, I saw it, it was out. Can't get mad at him for getting in the way because he is on the pitch playing, technically. McCreary doesn't go for the immediate deep shot. We've seen him do it before. Tape to tape, as Stefan Rapazzo so wonderfully says it. That's Stephen Jones. He spent a lot of the last year injured. It's fantastic to see him back out there, one of the captains of this Ranelagh side, a real heart and soul player. He's where he belongs to be right now on the pitch. And there's the under, big burning through, Meyer Bottling, showing what a great addition to this squad he's been. Gets the D of Bogan Carey in the battle of the double-barreled names. And Lind, surprised by that disc, but holds on to possession. Girotto, the most experienced player on this side, joined them from Padova for this campaign. Lind again. Spent some time in Padova making those friends, making those connections. Meyer Bottling. Meyer Bottling goes to Sontag, tries to lead him. He just about gets onto it, gets the score. That's a break.
That is a nice score there for Heidees. I think that is a hold.
Oh, that's
actually.
not a break.
Sorry, that is a hold.
You're right. Sorry.
It was a dirty hold. They did have a turn.
It was a very dirty
and got it back, but there was a hold nonetheless. Heidees starting to feel themselves out, starting to finally play the offense they know they can play, getting the plays like this run through D that we saw earlier in that point. And here we see
By that man.
Yeah, he's gonna get the not really the double happiness because it's the D and the assist, but he'll take it.
I think that counts. It can be the assist of the goal. It still counts.
So 3-2 the score here. Ranelagh still up one break. And I'm curious if Heidees will come out in that zone again. It is windy, but Ranelagh just shredded it. So if they do come out with something, they'll probably change it up.
I do think so as well. They have a couple of adjustments that we saw them break out against Wall City. They are a lot more familiar with Wall City, and having like almost looking up to them in a lot of ways. You know, those are the players who would have coached them on some of the junior campaigns. Like a lot of these Heidees players have played together on a couple of iterations, under 17s, under 20s for Germany. And what was a rather disgusting moment, Sontag was saying to me before this game, it's like, yeah, I think this really stands well for Germany's under-24 program, which someone in a semi-final of Euros really shouldn't be focused on. Rogers using that body. He's so good at positioning, securing the disc. Murphy, big-time receiver, but he's also got some great throws. You can't underestimate him in that department. McNamara may have highlighted the tournament with the layout D, got on muck. One of the few bright sparks for Ranelagh in that game. Feely with the uprushing move, gets it. He's got lots of breaks in his arsenal, and Murphy climbs a ladder and brings down a cloud for good measure. 4-2.
That disc went up. It looked like it'd be out of the reach of everybody, but Murphy, just a huge man with a huge jump, huge ups, got there and got the score for Ranelagh, so they are up 4-2 now in this semifinal. Looking very, very comfortable against this Heidees defense.
That was always going to be a risk, and I do attribute the fact they put on the zone to this sudden level of comfort that we're seeing emanating from the men in black. They like their quick fire offense. They don't like holding onto the disc for too long. Feely gets that in the uprush. Feely's a player who's got breaks on each side. He's going to look for them. Sam Murphy's a player who's going to be waiting to receive that break.
Look, so if Ranelagh make it to the final of this game, this would be the first time, I believe, that an Irish team would have made the Euros final and Open. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. Last time was the first time an Irish Open team made the semis.
Yeah. So what would that mean?
It was also the first time an Irish Open team made the quarterfinals.
What would that mean to the Irish Ultimate scene to get a team out there? I mean, this has been when I started following Ireland, we really didn't have very strong teams at the elite level. They've really risen over the past few years, especially the likes of Ranelagh. Pelt also had their chances every now and then.
Pelt were more of a wild card. Ranelagh feel a bit more like an institution. As that one just goes down. Ranelagh, this is the second generation of Ranelagh, which is such a difficult thing to do for a club, as McCreary looks to get the quick pop in on the break. It was great defensive pressure that they exerted, and then he hits it to, I believe that's Stewart. An assist and a goal for the youngest player on the Ranelagh side. I mean, it's a bit early to be giving him some flowers, but you make sure to smell the roses after the performance he's put in this weekend.
5-2, Ranelagh up another break here, and Heidees really flustered, and I really think Ranelagh just looks more prepared and more ready. You see their little celebration. I don't know if we'll get the replay on that. I hope we do, because they have some kind of little rocket. There was a hand on that D, just running down, chasing down the pull, and gets the double happiness here.
He's so quick and was a big part. I'm talking about Louis Stewart, of course, the person who gets the double happiness. From talking to Ian French, the coach of Ranelagh, before this game, they said putting him on Ben Yonkers, the handler of the Yonkers brothers, was a huge part of the reason why they're able to do so well against them. So a young man with a lot of potential. He's showing it right now with one of every kind of good stat. So we are going to take a quick break. for some messages, and we will be back with what is seriously picked up in the last 2 points of action.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
So if this weekend's action has got you all a buzz about Ultimate, don't forget to check out Hive. As that disc rolls down into the end zone, quickly picked up and they're looking to get going. It's Sontag, Niraj, might be Palmieri, I'm pretty sure that's Niraj. They're both sharing numbers. Sontag, this is a lot of pressure being exerted on Heidees right now, struggling to get out of their own end zone. Sontag is going to have to take every second disc. Not a lot of relief coming. They finally get some in the form of Luce. That's the older Luce Bella. Lutz, and there's Sontag. He winds up. He unleashes. He's got Shear chasing it down. He's got Meyer Bottling as well. Meyer Bottling looking to pop it into Shear. And there's the score. So after a little bit of nerves, a comfortable hold.
Much better offense there from Heidees after the timeout. Looking, like you said, Ronald putting a lot of pressure, but they actually looked very comfortable with that pressure. And managed to just go through it, eventually get that big huck off and a pop in for the score. Heidees is going to need to figure out how to play that offense consistently through this game if they want to come back, and then eventually figure out a way to stop this Ranelagh offense. But first, they need to keep having offensive points like this one.
And that's the kind of Heidees that I've been waiting to see in this game. That's the kind of Heidees that were able to take it to Wall City and avenge their national final loss. Recycle, recycle, recycle. I think it might have been Lind who was involved there, along with Nistroy and Sontag, but Lind might have taken off his hat, which means he's a little bit more difficult for me to recognize.
Score is now 5-3. Ranelagh over Heidees. Ranelagh's, I think, still up 2 breaks right now.
Substantial breaks.
Felix, 5-3. Felix. 5-3.
Ranelagh firmly in control of this game, but Heidees starting to find their feet again. Offensively, they've got some great threats. They're going to be looking to make some big plays. Kitchen and Dipple have absolutely no reservations about throwing themselves around. Any disc that is even somewhat near them, they're going to make a bid on. There's Feely.
We see Ranelagh coming out in a sort of split stack with Ferdia and Devi isolated on the side. Although it looks like Roger's going to come back and handle from what he sees about this Heidees junk look. Heidees really coming out to stop the pull play.
This is a smart defensive structure by Heidees. Ranelagh are going to look to pull them apart and take advantage of some of these inherent poaches. Looking straight at McNamara. Feely recognizes there isn't a man on him, so he doesn't really have to worry about too much right now. No stall count. Kerkorian clears up the line for him. He swings around to Rogers instead on the near sideline. Rogers says no to Devi on the break side. The first time, says yes on the second. Devi sees Murphy, lays it out for him. They're working down the break side now. This is where Ranelagh like to do all of their damage. Gets it back to McNamara in the middle of the pitch. McNamara floats it around to Murphy. Front corner, pops it back to Rogers for another score.
Murphy's having an incredible game so far here for Ranelagh. I mean, we know the likes of Rogers and Devi and names like that. I mean, Murphy's not a new player or anything, but I really think he's a key here to how this Ranelagh offense has been successful. 6-3 the score now as Heidees really, they tried that junky look, but Ranelagh just punched right through it with complete ease.
Ranelagh's offense is so frequently designed to pull apart defenses so that they can then take on those break throws. So if you're naturally going to set yourself up where you're already kind of pulled apart, that kind of plays into their hands a little bit. I'd like to see Heidees go.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams.
And yeah, so like I said, Heidees need to get that offense playing like they did in the last point. I'm sure Ranelagh are going to come down with something extremely potent as we see Ferdia Rogers crossing over the D-line here, as he tends to do in very important games.
He likes to step over when they can really punch in and punish teams to push them down. 6-3 up and carrying a lot of the... There were some stumbles at the start, but we're starting to see the offense and defensive pressure that helped Ranelagh move past Mooncatchers, who a lot of people had as an outside pick to make the final. Of course, a lot of people picked Moon and Wall City as this semi-final, but instead, I think it'd be fair to say 2 upsets.
That is fair for me.
As Lind, middle of the pitch, gets it just about down the line. And they're going to keep cycling around. Garotto. There's Nistroy. Well, that's Palmieri, I believe, actually. Sontag looking. Garotto again. Big bid. Collects it comfortably, and there's a pretty rapid switch by the Ranelagh defense. Now Garotto is looking down the line, tries to get to Palmieri, instead goes to Sontag in the middle of the pitch. Sontag has Meyer Bottling in front of him, hits him on the nice sweeping inside break, and goes back to Sontag. There's a call of fire from the Ranelagh side line. I assume that means something to them. Garotto says no to Shear, says no to the double cut, but instead gets it to Lind, who came under, and there's a quick throw through. Massive D by Sam Murphy.
Just incredible stuff there by Murphy. I mean, it looked like Heidees finally figured out their offense. Now Dusk is going high and will go way too far, and Heidees will get the disc back immediately.
So Heidees, when they were just getting comfortable, starting to really flow down that pitch in a way that is quite synonymous with this young outfit so far in this tournament, and then Sam Murphy just blew it all up with a huge layout. Of course, very charitable team, Ranelagh, known for their spirit in a lot of circles. Decided, yeah, we'll give you another go. Looks like you're getting comfortable on offense. Keep working on it.
I'm not sure that's exactly what happened.
Well, that makes more sense than whatever else happened. So Sontag, as he so frequently does, the tip of the spear. Picking up the disc, front corner. Wind has kind of died down, Ravi.
Yeah, things getting a little bit more calm here, which I think probably plays into Heidees' favor. I think Ranelagh is pretty good in the wind. Bit more wind in Dublin than there is in Heidelberg.
Garotto. That is an incisive low blade into the middle of the pitch. And Lind tries to set the one up for Meyer Bottling. He chases it down. I thought Fletcher might have been able to sneak in, but instead, Fletcher's just pointing to Landon out of bounds. That's going to be a turnover.
So Ranelagh with another chance here to extend their lead to 4. Ferdia Rogers going to pick up. Maybe play a bit more patient offense than they did last time they got the disc.
You don't know that. Maybe he'll just go for a massive huck straight away. Gets it down the line to Stewart. Stewart himself goes for the throw. He sees Murphy. He sends it. Comfortably collected.
A little bit of a delayed reaction there from Ranelagh. I think they weren't sure if he was in bounds, but that is going to count. 7-3 the score now. And Ranelagh just looking like a team who's been there before, and Heidees just a team that's not living up to the moment right now.
It's a painful reversal of fates for the German fans, I'm sure. Ironic you say that, because so far Ranelagh's best player is the one player who hasn't been here before for them, and that's Louis Stewart, number 22. That's another assist for the young man. And he has showed up, and he is showing off at this point. Big time break. Now they move within 1 of half. I think this was always going to be a risk when Heidees are in the moment, but they were in the moment in the quarterfinal. Maybe the familiarity of Wall City being against them?
Yeah, that's a different situation. That's a team that they've played over and over and over again, and they know how to match up with that. This is a team, when you come to Euros, you see a lot of styles that you've never played before, and you know they beat some teams along the way, but they're reaching the high level of Ranelagh. they've probably never played each other before, I'm guessing. And
neither of these iterations. The first generation of Ranelagh and the previous generation of Heidees have played each other.
Okay, yes, but none of the players on the field have played each other. And just, yeah, I think Wall City is a totally different beast to coming out to a semi-final European Championship against a team you haven't played before. Ranelagh had that same, same thing against them when they had to play Cusp last year in the semi-final, and they actually rose to the moment. They lost by Cusp, I think, by 2 or 3 points in that game. Played up really high, but Heidees this time, yeah, I don't think it's going to come down for them. Maybe things will change throughout this game, but I do still think it's a great thing for a young team like this to get this far. We'll see how things go.
It's a huge testament. I didn't realize how young Heidees were until I talked to them after the game. And it is very impressive, but they can't be satisfied with this. Sure, you're going to learn this lesson the hard way, but that doesn't mean you have to make it easy for Ranelagh to teach it to you. Sontag looking. DV trying to shut down Lind. That's an inventive throw, and that's more like the fun-loving fearlessness that has got Heidees to this position. They've got nothing to lose and so much to gain. Lind and Sontag leading the way. Sheer scooping that one off the ground. Stephen Jones momentarily thinks it might be down, decides against it, and Meyer Bottling is all the way free. It was a big-time break.
And that is a Heidees score, 7-4. Looked like some of the sideline was telling Stephen Jones to call that down. He kind of hesitated, and I think some of his teammates stopped playing defense because they saw that hesitation. But so you see Ferdy Rogers there telling him. You'll see here the low catch. Here we see the nice inventive throw, as you called it.
Fearless is what I would call that. That's the kind of throw that you throw.
And we see another one right here.
Sontag and Lind know each other so well. Such a casual one. Here's going to be the low catch by Sheer.
It's really hard for me to say if that's down or up. Stephen Jones calls it up, but I think that small hesitation, just his whole team thought there was going to be a discussion.
I understand that. I don't, unless that discussion was going to last for 3 seconds, and during those 3 seconds McCreary was allowed to chase Meyer Bottling, then Meyer Bottling was still going to be free in that corner.
7-4 the score. Heidees do look a little bit better with their offense, with these nice little creative, fearless throwing, as you said. But so far they've been, since the first offensive point where they got a couple turns on Ranelagh, they've been unable to do much against this Ranelagh O-line. We'll see if they can mix things up here and try and create a turnover so they can get a break opportunity, because it's been a while since they've seen one.
Kitchen with the big pull. Throws it down there. That's going to be fielded by Corcoran. No, it's not. It's going to be fielded by Feely as it goes out for a break. Brick.
I don't think that's allowed.
As long as the other team... I always thought the other team could be like,
and threw it to a teammate. That's not allowed.
It isn't?
No.
Well, courtesy wins today. Honestly, I don't think Ranelagh would really mind that much if Corcoran picked it up at the brick mark anyway. Like I said, they've really worked on making their handlers more versatile. They want multiple points of attack at all times. There's Murphy right in the middle of the pitch. It's an awful lot of work to try and keep up with him. McNamara gives it back to Murphy. I think Murphy might have just decided he's going to own this point and take it to half. There's the throw to DV, 8-4.
And there we see 8-4 for Ranelagh. Heidees will get offense in the second half, but they have dug themselves a hole, and you see how comfortable Ranelagh is against Heidees' defense. That's been the story since after the first point. Heidees not able to generate pressure. Their offense is clicking at times. It hasn't been consistent enough to stay with Ranelagh. And the other side is their defense hasn't been putting pressure. So Ranelagh really in the driver's seat. We'll see what Heidees discusses and comes up with to try and change the tides in the second half. We'll take a little break here. We'll be back in a couple minutes for the second half of this semifinal matchup at EUCF 2022.
And there goes the big searing pull and the rapid chase by Ranelagh. Linda with the disc, middle of the pitch for Heidees. Heidelberg Heidees. Eppelheim, the name of the suburb. That's Girotto. Most experienced player on this Heidees team, coming to them by way of Padova.
That was Jasper Lind who went over to Padova and made some friends. Picked up Girotto and a couple others. Girotto been kind of, yeah, like you said, the older figure, the dad of this team. Helping a lot with his experience, but there, giving it up and giving Ranelagh an easy chance for a break here.
Salazar was under a lot of pressure from Kyo, and there's the perfect throw from McCreary. Straight into Kyo, and they are feeling themselves right now, which is a little bit peculiar for Ranelagh. Are they setting up the rocket? They haven't busted out the rocket since the first half of MUC game.
No, it was out earlier this game. I think we missed it. Let's keep the cameras. There it is. That's the break rocket.
And speaking of breaks, they're trying to break their own streak in this stream game, Ravi.
That is true. Apparently they have lost the last 10 games on camera. So Heidi still has that in their back pocket. We'll see if that comes out in the second half. But Ranelagh has been up by a scoreline of something like this before against an iteration of Clapham earlier this year, and they did lose. They were up 9-3, I believe, and lost that one. So Heidees isn't out of it yet, but they're not quite Clapham.
We'll see. Maybe one day. They certainly got the opportunity to try, as you can see. Full extension from Salazar, but he couldn't quite get his hands around it. And then McCreary, no hesitation, just hits Kyo. Back corner. Chase down. Slow motion for you. So
do you know if there's much difference between this iteration of Ranelagh compared to the one that went over to WUC and had played the UK National Series? Like, they didn't seem to have great results there, but here they're really on form so far this weekend.
There was a couple of American pickups who joined them at WUC, but I think it was just tough for them to get over there and get used to the style and the standard. You see they get shocked, kind of like Heidees a little bit early in games, and they would play their way back into them in the second half. Wouldn't quite always work out. Sontag with the disc in the middle of the pitch. UK Nats was an aberration. Alba just seemed to have their number and beat them in the semi-final. I'm not entirely sure how to explain it. They came up with an idea as Lind launches one deep. Mar Butling's underneath. Pierce is going to try and get a second D on him this game, but and that one again going out the back of the end zone. Lind, who, sure, he shot a few out the back of the end zone going downwind. I suppose it's kind of downwind now. But he's misfiring on this occasion. And it's going to punish them.
You could see Groot in the background preparing for their mixed semifinal coming up after this game. I believe they'll be playing Disconnection. And then it's should be Reading versus Leftovers, if I'm correct, in the semifinals. In the mixed
that was a huge achievement for Leftovers. Leftovers is a team I've seen, I think, every finals I've ever been to, and they consistently have not done great. One of my favorite games to ever call was a Leftovers game. It was like a plate final. Went on for a long time. I think they wound up winning 8-7, but it was a really fun game. They're a really great team. So huge congratulations to them making the semi-final. That's Enda Kelleher with the disc, middle of the pitch. Drops it back to McCreary. McCreary to McNulty. McNulty, he has Doyle. He sees him. He hits him. Doyle on the near sideline. He looks for Fletcher. Finds him too. These are seemingly a lot of break throws. There's the soft one into Stewart, but he's got those strong hands to take it down. And he's probably picked up about the hardest assignment. McNulty gets it to McCreary. McCreary's probably going to shoot to the end zone. Yeah, he sees Fletcher. He looks for him with the disc and finds him for the score.
Another break for Ranelagh, this time, like you said, on an overthrow out the back of the end zone from Lind. Yeah, again, Heidees just really, when they turn it over, I think their O-line defense not putting that much pressure. We see the rocket coming out yet again. Ranelagh really, really feeling comfortable here in this 10-4 lead.
10-4, good buddy.
40 minutes into the game, and they're already 10 points on the board. I think we're going to go to 15 here, Lorcan.
Here, yeah. Sorry, here's the problem. I feel like if this was a pool game, it would have been way better. But the moment is clearly bothering Heidees in a way that they're struggling. And I think you really hit the nail on the head when you were saying it was easier for them to play against Wall City because they were so familiar with them already and they could step their game up. Right now they have been punched in the mouth and kicked on their way down. And they're looking to try and find a way back into this matchup. They're going to try and bring on a couple of new players, mix up the lines. I like that as a decision.
Yeah, I think you want to give, especially for them right now, a win is a little bit of a tricky thing to ask for, but give as much of your team the experience of playing in this moment so that you can use this to build on for next year.
Well, it's still this year now, so we'll see how they balance it out. Alton Kitchen, I think Reinhardt as well, coming out here. It's basically a D-line for them. Is that Palmieri in the middle as well?
You also wonder how much they exhausted themselves playing against Wall City. I mean, that's a big upset. I think Ranelagh Moon is also an upset, but I don't think as big of an upset. Heidees over Wall City.
Really?
Yes.
That's a lot of respect for Ranelagh. Fair enough.
I mean, last year Ranelagh was 4th and Moon was 17th. Moon has a tendency to kind of
huge grab, incredible stuff by Stuhlert, and it's great to get those defensive players back out there. That's T-shirt now. He looks to send it down. A little bit of physical contact, but gonna.
Now, definitely a Heidees player stopped playing there on that throw.
You hear Rogers like, "That's a turn." He threw it away.
No, I don't think that's happening.
Letter of the law. Berniker with the disc. You can tell the difference is he's the number 10 that doesn't have a beard. Stuhlert. No, I think it's going to have to go back to Berniker. So I really like this decision to switch up the lines, bring out a fresh 7. See what they can get done. Berniker. Oh, almost. Oh, eager Beavers. Trying to take a jump too soon. Berniker. Stuhlert. Goes for the same fake. You got to love that. Stuhlert tries to shoot it into the middle. Is that Lipari? Oh, I thought he was injured. Well, it's great to see him out there, Stuhlert. And that's a high release flick. There's the quick pop into Lipari. And the score for the Padova import.
And you see that's sometimes a little bit tricky when D-line comes in after the O-line gets broken a bunch and they score. Can be a bit tough for the O-line to take that, but we'll see. This does give them a chance now to try and put some defense. Here we're going to see the beautiful flow from the Heidees D-line offense. Even though this was a hold, it was their D-line in at this point.
That's the other thing. It was a flawless hold. So
that high release flick is something of beauty. And then it's just easy to pop it in after that. That just opens the field up completely. So now 10-5. We'll see what Heidees can do. Maybe throw some of your O-line players out on D, see if you can switch things up twice.
I would definitely think about putting Lind and Sontag out there. Sontag looks like he's going to be taking this one off. Kitchen's going to go back out there. Lind is seemingly marshalling the troops and leading the line. Berniker is also joining them. So there's some athletes out here. Dipple, I assume. I can't quite see through the crowd right now, but it would be... Oh, Lind isn't playing. It would be very surprising to see a D-line go out there without Dipple. So, Heidees get the score. It's 10-5. Get a few breaks. Like you said, at this point, it's just about blooding as many members as you can. Learn how to fight into the situation. That's the pull from Michael Brenner.
Wind's picking up in a huge way here.
And it slips through Corcoran as he laid out to try and stop the disc. So there was a lot of rolling pulls out the sideline in their quarterfinal victory. Heidees like to pin people back there. Try and put them under some pressure. Feely with the disc, gets back to Corcoran. Corcoran just leads Feely. The spin, that was right into the wind. Beautifully done. Feely puts up the floaty pass. McNamara reads it perfectly or happened to be in the right area at the right time. And looks to shoot to DV. And they make short work of it.
You say Heidees like to put a lot of pressure, but that's not how I would describe how Ranelagh feels every time Heidees defense comes out there. Our line is just completely comfortable no matter what Heidees defense seems to do.
It's a difficult situation for Heidees to find themselves in. I mean, they got really good work pinning people into back corners when they're working against Wall City. And this time around, Corcoran and Feely just effortlessly, that throw to set up Feely in power position was so smooth.
That's a difficult throw, but he really placed it perfectly where the defender can't get to it. And the continuation of DV is easy after that.
I'm going to be honest with you, I think Feely was aiming for DV.
It's possible.
But it's one of those things, you know, everything seems to be going right for Ranelagh just when everything's going wrong for Heidees. And I'm a big believer, and a lot of that comes from the teams themselves. You make your own luck. You design your own fate.
So 11-5 the score here. Ranelagh 4 points away from getting it to the final against Clapham.
Which is a pretty huge deal. Perhaps the absolute smash-mouth way they've come out in this semi-final, and you can see in a couple of the faces that this is hurting for Heidees right now. Character building is never fun, and growth isn't easy. This is a big moment for them to truly define themselves for the many years ahead of them that I'm sure they'll go from strength to strength. During Garatho looks for Lind, can't get to him immediately, has Shear, also can't get to Shear. There's so much pressure. It's coming from just about everywhere. Fantastic grab. That's Marburg. Marburg was a big part. Oh, it's not a turnover. Marburg was a big part of the D-line offense when they were playing against Wall City. We've just seen so little D-line offense for Heidees in this game. Marburg. Keenan marking him. That's not an easy man to get free from. Garatto. He's that out. Sheer. Kyo tries to steal through, I think. And that's a block. I thought that was a strip. McCreary again. He's getting to it straight away every time. There's the hammer over the top. And McCreary's feeling himself. Like, what semi-final?
That was a phenomenal defensive play there. And the Ranelagh break rocket will come out again.
It's getting a bit excessive now. Oh, that's what you get, Kyo. Tries to do it with his ass. I hope that hurt. I don't hope that hurt. This is redemption for Ranelagh right now. I'm sure this is amazing. But here's an interesting thing. So Ian French was talking to me before the game. He's one of the coaches. And he was saying how we really crashed after the high of winning the quarter-final last year, and we managed our emotions much better this year. Does that look like a team managing their emotions in the semi-final?
I think so. I mean, depends on your personality of your team. Like, if you get really excited whenever you break here, we see the run through D and the stumble afterwards. We're going to see the hammer for the score. Just a great play there from Ranelagh. Yeah, I think they're managing their emotions fine. I think you want to celebrate and be excited. I mean, they have a whole day to recover this time. It's not like quarters to semis where it's just a couple hours. You want to do everything you can to make sure you pound this game in, get every little bit of practice you can, because tomorrow they got Clapham if they keep this up.
And speaking of pounding it in, we're going to get every little bit of advertising we can in between the timeouts. So we're going to throw it to some quick messages and be back after this. We are back as Ranelagh on the defensive side again, and they're just really hoping to punch this one in and finish it off. They're still putting out full-strength defensive lines. Like I said at the start of this game, they've all got roles, they've all got specifics, and that's what they're focused on. As that one is falling down. Palmieri to Sontag. Sontag thinks about the deep shot. We know he's got them in the holster, but he leaves them there for now. Send out to the far side, and Sheer back into the middle. Sontag goes for the breakthrough, and just about clicked by Lutz. Lutz picks it up. That's the younger Lutz, Linus. Gets it back to Sontag. Sontag looks for the break, decides against it. Nistroy working very hard, or Palmieri even, going by the Padova shorts he's wearing. Sontag. They're just struggling to get some serious yards downfield. The unders aren't quite working, and it's just dumps and swings right now for them. Palmieri. And to Meyer Bottling. Meyer Bottling came all the way back around, and he winds one up and shoots to the end zone. That was better by Heidees. And that's Salazar with the score.
12-6. Heidees still half the points of Ranelagh on the board. Ranelagh scoring 2 for every Heidees 1 at the moment, but you got to take what you can get here from Heidees and just be excited every time you score in this game. It's going to take it 1 point at a time if you want to claw your way back. We've seen crazy comebacks before, but the problem is they've just not been able to put pressure on the Ranelagh offense. Like I said, their offense, Heidees' offense, it works sometimes, not consistently, but how are they going to put some pressure on what Ranelagh is doing? Because Ranelagh is just completely comfortable. They've thrown zone out there. They've gone person to person. They've tried to back them. They've tried to front them. No matter what they do, Ranelagh has an answer.
It's one of those tough things. Ranelagh work really hard on getting as much versatility into their roles as they can, so that when you're looking at it, you're like, what's the kind of defensive shape that we can put on them? What's the structure to kind of limit their prowess, their virility, at times, for lack of a better word? And it's a difficult thing to work out, and you don't really have a lot of time to work it out when you misfire like their offense was at the start of this matchup. And again, these players, they don't have a huge amount of experience between them. They're not going to have come up against this many, certainly this situation, as well as these specific tactics. So some of that's mentality, some of that's just knowledge. But they're starting to raise their voice a little bit on the sideline. We'll see how they can raise their defensive intensity on the pitch. Dipple picking up the Rogers assignment. Rogers and Devi once again starting in the split sack on this near sideline.
Again, Ranelagh having one player pick it up, hand it to another player. That's not allowed under the rules.
Well, someone should tell them.
Well, they'll probably see the stream later.
Feely to Rogers. Rogers thinks about the huck, doesn't go for it. That was great cover in the backfield by, I think, Lipoli. McNamara, he's thinking about the shot, decides against it as well himself. Gives it instead back to Rogers. Rogers looks for Devi. Flowing throw to Feely. Feely's got Murphy straight ahead of him, finds him. Goes to get it back. That's the quick fire flow that they're so good at. And there's the shot to McNamara for the score.
That is just too easy for Ranelagh. It's been the story of the whole game since the first point. Their offense just completely comfortable, never having any pressure. I mean, all of those throws were to wide open people. They grind, they cut hard, and then they're just free. And they don't need to put any risky shots out there. They don't need to throw a hard reset because they just get open. They're just athletically superior to the Heidees defense right now, and also winning with their throws.
They move so quickly after throwing, and it seems to really be scuppering Heidees. And then something Ranelagh really focus on is as soon as you've caught the disc, you focus on catching it, you get it, and you land. When you look, there should be a free person or someone making a move for you. And that immediacy is really hard to react to, and especially if you don't know quite how to switch or pass off responsibilities, maybe get a little bit physical with them downfield, it's going to be very tough to limit them.
So Ranelagh now 2 points away from a finals berth here at the EUCF 2022.
Got to understand they'd be feeling themselves. If I was in this situation, I'd be feeling myself. McNulty, he's going to be pulling it down there.
Wind picking up a bit, which might make it tough for Heidees. They haven't handled the gusty situations so well this game.
Lind with the disc. Searching, Palmieri's trying to get free from him. Does so, under a lot of attention from McCreary. There's Salazar. Salazar's been a real bright spark. Then Sontag. Girotto. Girotto back to Sontag. Sontag, there's the quick give go, but there's no cut into that open space arriving in time. The pressure from Ranelagh seems to have thrown off their cutting timing as Lind eventually gets back there to help out. Straight back to Girotto. The only real cut is Sontag. There's the big shot downfield. Stewart is going to try to get it from Meyer Bottling, but it's just too far away.
Meyer Bottling almost got a hand on that, but you can see Ranelagh completely shutting down every undercut. Such a discrepancy between how Heidees' offense looks compared to how Ranelagh's offense looks. Ranelagh is able to get open on unders whenever they want. Heidees completely shut down, having to go through their resets many, many times, and eventually only getting that deep shot. And Ranelagh is happy to have them do that because some of them have sailed out the back. Some of them have been on, but definitely it's been, you know, inconsistent enough to give Ranelagh a lot of chances if they just block all the unders and force the deeps. And it's been working perfectly for Ranelagh so far, 13-6, and they have a chance for a break to get within one of a finals berth here.
So Meyer Bottling had to come off. He's replaced by Marburg. Ranelagh also swap a player out. It was Rory Keogh going off and Freddie Rogers coming on. McCreary immediately feeding Rogers in the middle of the pitch. And this is the standard Ranelagh set. Sometimes ends with a huck, but if they don't work that out, they hit Stewart in the inside. Look at the separation they're doing. They're isolating players so well, and Heidees are struggling to stay close to them, or at least close enough to make these throws difficult and dissuade them. McNulty hits McCreary, middle of the pitch. McCreary's right outside the end zone now. Has Rogers, passes it to him. Couple of offhand backhands between them. Rogers going for it. And there's the break across to Stephen Jones. Stephen Jones right outside the end zone. Thinks about getting it back to Rogers. Both Heidees fall down, but hey, they stop the initial pass. They can't stop the second one. And Louis Stewart continues his campaign for MVP of this semi-final with another score.
Playing incredibly well, Louis Stewart. Not a name that I knew coming into this game, but yeah, like you said, really stepping up. I'm not sure MVP, but definitely playing up to his role for a rookie.
Purely stats-wise, he's definitely gotten one block. He's gotten, I think, one, if not two assists. I think that's his second score as well. but he's been picking them up everywhere.
Great throw there by Jones, too. It kind of has that little pop-up on the backhand. It'll air bounce.
Really well measured by Stephen Jones.
The score's now 14-6. Ranelagh has to score one more, and they will find themselves against Clapham tomorrow. Heidees trying to extend this game, trying to claw their way back somewhat, but I don't think they've gotten a break all game. I would see them maybe getting a hold here, but I really doubt that they can pull off a break given how comfortable Ranelagh has been. I think that's the thing that Heidees is going to learn and take away from this game, is that they have to improve their defense against a team like Ranelagh and figure something out.
A lot of that comes to the fact they just haven't got that much experience at this elite level, and it's tough to make adjustments when you're not entirely sure what's happening in the first place. So this isn't working. Why? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
And they were clearly scared out of running their zone again. Maybe when the win was a bit higher up there, they could have tried a couple of different looks for it, but Ranelagh love playing against that kind of a defense. But really the best thing to do against Ranelagh is like really high energy, athletic, close match defense where you know the breaks they're going for and you've got a couple of heads-up switches, the kind of stuff that Clapham happen to really excel at. As that goes to Lutz. Lutz, big sweeping throw all the way around. So they're going back with another heavy D-line look for this one. Sheer back to Lutz. Lutz floats it out there. This is nice stuff from Lutz. Gets it to Dipple on the far side. Dipple thinks about the hook, decides against it. Gets it inside to Kitchen. Kitchen back to Lutz. So the flow is there for the Heidees. Couldn't get it to Dipple. Goes for the deep shot. Bogan Carey's momentarily displaced. And Meyer Butling collects for the score. Not quite in yet, so he's got to pass it back out to Sheer. Sheer then goes for the throw. There's lots of float on that. Kelleher's underneath it. But so is Meyer Butling with another massive grab.
Well, that's the hold they needed, 14-7. A lot of asking them right now. They're going to have to come back huge with 8 points on the bounce, but at least they got that hold. Their D-line actually, I think, doing better than their O-line when they bring them out on offense so far.
Meyer Butling plays wherever they need him to play.
Yeah.
And outside of that, there's been a lot of flow, good bit of movement, but like 2 of those passes were fairly speculative.
That one for sure. Meyer Butling again elevating for that.
Monster grab.
Demolishing his own player. So now we'll see Ranelagh's O-line come onto the field.
Did you expect this to happen when there was such a shaky start to the game? Those first few points had so many unforced errors.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I mean, I expected more of this coming into the game. But once I saw those first 2 points, I thought maybe this is going to be a sloppy one. But Ranelagh really cleaned themselves up. They had one bad offensive point, still got the hold. And then since then, they've been pretty much perfect.
So I'm sure a lot of the Irish fans back home very happy to be watching this turn of events. Of course, the inverse of that being very true for the Germans as well. Not quite the knockout affair of the first semi-final. But it just shows you the different steps. It's almost like Ranelagh are one step ahead of Heidees in the new generation coming up and taking over. Like they were here last year. They learned some hard lessons.
This game looks like a couple steps ahead. I got to be honest with you, Lurkin. I don't think it's just one.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Feely picking up the disc. Okay, McCreary isn't playing. Is he allowed to do it?
You're allowed to pick up the disc and put it 3 meters from the field, but you can't just pass it to a player. They have to come pick it up 3 meters from the field. It's more legal than what they were doing before, which is the player on the field picking it up and passing it to another player.
When 2 things are illegal and your argument is this one's more illegal or more legal, does that work against the cops? Feely looks for Deavy. Can't find him. There's so much space created in the middle of the pitch. There goes Rogers. Murphy just runs straight into it. Heidees really aren't doing much to limit what Ranelagh are going for. To their detriment, Rogers gets it back. Looking for Deavy. Hits him. And they're just letting Ranelagh isolate cutter after cutter. There's a huge bid. Lutz comes through on McNamara.
I think there's going to be a call there, a bit of a late bid there from Lutz, and I hope McNamara's okay. But I think there was a lot of contact on that bid. We're going to see the replay here. No, this is not the replay we're seeing.
That was the replay of Meyer Butling getting that
no
huge
call.
grab.
No
call. So that's going to be a turnover. There you go. Lutz leaves his feet, gets the block. Potential for a break now for Heidees. I think it's a long way to Tipperary, but we've got to start somewhere. Lind looking for Kitchen, can't find him. There seems to be a call that's going to send that one back. T-shirt with the disc. Is he going to be allowed to hold on to it? Yeah, I think Corcoran's just going to catch up to him. Down the line. That's Palmieri. Palmieri gets it to Lutz. Lutz looks to hit it. Goes over the top of Rogers, but it's unfortunately dropped.
That was their chance to get a break here in this game, and they gave it up. A little bit forced on that throw, I have to say. It wasn't really the best option if you look at it.
So now Feely picks up. You can understand why you try to force it in that situation. You feel the intensity, you feel the opportunity, you want to take it. That's a smooth throw from Rogers, just about the only kind he does. Sam Murphy to Deavy on the near sideline. Deavy decides he doesn't want the shot to the end zone, looks it off. Suppose it would have been slightly contested. Gets it back to Rogers. Rogers has McNamara in the middle, doesn't want that one either. Feely makes the cut across. Now Rogers is forced to go for the break to Murphy. Murphy chases it down. I thought he was going to have to lay out. He did not. He is a very elongated man, and there's the around throw. Collected for the score from McNamara, and Ranelagh booked their place in the final. Become the highest finishing Irish team at any EUCF ever.
They booked their place in the final for the first time. They break their streak of losing games on stream, and now they're ready to go face Clapham. Got to say, they're going to have to find a way to elevate their level. This game was against a defense that basically gave them no pressure, and I think that goes against them for tomorrow because Clapham is not going to be that team. Clapham is going to be in their face on every catch. Here they were able to catch everything without any pressure, really. So we'll have to see if they can get themselves emotionally ready for that change of defensive intensity that can often be a very difficult thing to do. But probably they saw a lot of that defensive intensity against Mooncatchers, so if they can bring that energy tomorrow, we'll see if they can bring the game. I think Clapham are favorites, but Ranelagh got nothing to lose right now. They've got guaranteed a medal. We just got to see what color it's going to be tomorrow, Lorcan.
And then on the other side, of course, Heidees, so much future ahead of them, almost an infuriating amount when you think about how young that team is. Obviously, they're going to be disappointed with their performance in this semi-final, but it's very understandable, especially those of us slightly longer in tooth than the youths from Heidelberg. So, plenty to learn. It's a tough one to learn it on the semi-final grounds of EUCF, but still a huge achievement to make it this far. Thank you to everybody who stuck with us this far. It's a pleasure to have you. We've got one more game that's going to be the two mixed semi-finals on this pitch. It's going to be Disconnection versus Grut.
Yes.
And then on the opposite pitch, it's going to be Leftovers taking on Reading. So we've got both those games on stream. You can take your pick. We'll be here with you, and we're looking forward to them. So we'll see you then.
Merci beaucoup. ULTI.TV